There's so many stories like this, and there was a whole write-up the other day, and I put the link, and what I'll do is I'll probably put it underneath this one. It's just as long. These are really long reads, so I'm not going to go through the entire thing, but I'm going to just kind of skim through it, and they all go together. So all these guys protect themselves, and here's another one of those stories. These guys are going to continually say that my life is ruined because, I'm a rapist, and how dare any woman tell me I can't rape anybody? Basically that. But there's some things in his history that's part of everything we're talking about, right? The military background, things like this. But yeah, anybody that's standing with Trump or anything like that, I mean, they pretty much hate women. Okay, so this one says the Trump administration touted him as a victim. You have to do that, All these socios are victims, okay, of Me Too. And don't you love it how they used to come out here and be like, or they still do, um, you know, this victim complex, this thing about it, but he's the victim, okay? And now he's accused of dismembering a girlfriend. So he was always a sociopath. He's got a little Ted Bundy in him. And let's see. The gruesome discovery spoke to a ghastly crime on the afternoon of July 20th. Someone using the waterfront trail in Alameda spotted a large garbage bag wrapped in duct tape that smelled as if it was full of dead fish from the bay. And then, when responding officers looked inside, they found the dismembered remains of a young woman whose head, hands, and feet have been removed. Investigators would extract a pair of DNA profiles from the duct tape on the bag. One belonged to Rachel Buckner, a young mother and spoken word poet who had just graduated from San Francisco Law School. The other, police now say, belongs to her killer, her boyfriend and one-time law school classmate, Joseph Roberts, suspected of using an electric saw to try to obscure his victim's identity. But as shocking as the crime was, the backstory was even stranger. Roberts, it turned out, was once touted by Trump administration as a poster child for the purported excess of the Me Too movement and the reckoning over sexual assault in American colleges, right? He was kicked off campus of Savannah State University in Georgia. The U.S. Navy veteran not only survived but turned the episode into a dramatic story about a kind of victim himself. This is a typical sociopath. That's why I'm educating everybody on these guys. This is a very cookie cutter thing that they do. And it's just, why do people buy it? Well, I think it's just like if you're naive to that disorder, you're going to fall for the manipulation. But also, you must really hate women to even go here to buy his bullshit. But yeah, anyway, and he's a U.S. Navy veteran. So they have a major problem over there because they basically are created sociopaths. And so they've been having this manly, the whole male supremacist thing, it's like don't have emotions. You got to go kill people, you know what I mean? And then he kills somebody, right? So it's kind of, on the same level. So it's like he earned entry to law school, won elected office in San Francisco, and was featured in sympathetic coverage. Sympathetic coverage. And now he's a black man. Okay. Sympathetic coverage by national media outlets, including ABC and US Today, who allowed him to explain how his life was nearly ruined due to women making false allegations against him. Nobody did, okay? So Roberts was still fashioning his unlikely comeback when he met Buckner at Golden Gate Law School. They fell in love, and you know how scary it's just him in law. These guys want to go in law and create all the laws to protect themselves, and that's kind of freaky, right? Mostly when it's a Ted Bundy serial killer type of guy. You know what I mean? And like he would obviously he's doing conduct that he's to women most likely since he was old enough to be able to do so. She was a brilliant Howard University graduate who grew up in East Bay and was pregnant with a daughter, and he was known as MAGA Joe due to his outspoken support of then President Donald Trump. It was a toxic pairing, friends and classmates said. Eventually, Buckner stopped communicating with her friends and her family and friends before the couple last year broke into Buckner's family home in San Ramon and assaulted her mother and grandmother. Roberts was formally charged with Buckner's killing and dismemberment on September 7th. It's not clear whether the pair were engaged at the time of her death. He has pled not guilty and is being held without bail at Santa Rita Jail in Dublin. His attorney and police, I guess, declined to comment. Now people who knew Buckner are trying to understand what happened to her and how long, for so long, her alleged murderer managed to turn trouble into advantage. His whole life, because he's a socio, so it means that his upbringing, whatever it's going to be here. Okay, it says a Georgia native, Roberts enlisted in the Navy in the spring of 1999, and then served in the USS Kearsarge, whatever, and okay, assault ship from 2000 to 203, right? He spent his last 2 years at Naval Station Norfolk in Virginia, finishing his military career in 2005 as an electrician's mate fireman recruit, according to naval records. There were early signs of trouble, of course. Virginia prosecutors filed two counts of trespassing against him in October 2000, and the details are unclear. Roberts said in a later interview that he spent 5 years as a railroad conductor for Norfolk Southern before being laid off, a company spokesman told, this thing. But it says a company spokesperson told the Chronicle it had no record of Roberts as an employee. That's interesting. So do you lie? I don't know. He then decided to attend college, saying in interviews that he was the first person in his family to do so. He walked onto the campus of Savannah State in 2009, and as a 28-year-old freshman studying English. In court records, Roberts said he pledged, this Omega Psi-Phi campaign for student body vice president and joined Quiz Bowl team. Okay, Navy Federal Credit Unit sued Roberts for 4,000 something over delinquent payments on a used Mercedes. Okay, financial woes would follow him. That's like the least of the story, you know what I mean? Savannah State officials have never said why the university came to investigate him. But in April 2011, an ex-girlfriend told campus police that Roberts was spreading rumors on Twitter that she infected him with the venereal disease. According to records reviewed by the Chronicle, the woman said that they were no longer dating, but that he was still texting her, still wanted him to stop and to quit spreading rumors about her. And then police told the former couple not to communicate, records show, but the woman said Roberts continued to make comments about her. So he can't take no for an answer. So you already know, it's like he's a rapist, because you could just tell him no and he keeps going, right? And that she resorted to remotely deleting his Twitter and Yahoo account, she resorted to remotely deleting his Twitter and Yahoo accounts. Roberts sought tampering charges against the woman, but police dropped the case. And Roberts, in a foreshadowing of what's to come, believed this was evidence of sexism. Huh? Okay, so by his senior year, Roberts found himself in deeper, more bizarre trouble. Afraid of her life. In February 2013, Roberts filmed himself sneaking into a Super Bowl halftime at the Superdome in New Orleans to watch Beyonce. Okay, and he said that he was an aspiring screenwriter and he hoped a video taken with the camera strapped to his forehead would be used to improve security and spark the dialogue, that he said he wanted to work in legislative affairs in Washington, D.C. Oh, God. I want to be that impartial voice of reason. 2 months later, 3 weeks before graduation, Robert asserted in a lawsuit that 3 women had leveled sexual harassment claims against him that got him kicked off campus. So 3. What the allegations entailed is not clear. The school and the accusers, named Roberts, declined the Chronicle's request for comment. And then it says in court records, Roberts said that one woman told school officials that she was afraid for her life. And that's for real, right? Nobody cares. Roberts said the school supported its decision to expel him in an incident report that includes text messages, Facebook messages, and Instagram posts. He said the university charges against him include damage to property and disorderly conduct. He's a straight up socio. He's like, doing the thing that I smash flowers. Yeah. On March 27, 2013, Robert says that he was suspended. Office officials emailed an alert with this photo across campus, and he said after deciding that his presence on campus constituted a serious threat of harm to the campus community. Yeah, so they knew he was a danger, right? But what are you guys actually doing about this? You know what I mean? You're not doing anything about this. Robert says that he was allowed to finish his studies remotely and to graduate. But 2 years later, in 2015, he sued the university and several of its leaders in federal court, acting as his own attorney. Oh my God. He's that guy. In his versions of event, the women were actually harassing him with text messages over student election beef. He contended that the administrators did an excessively hurried investigation and discriminated against him on the basis of his male sex. Oh, God. Savannah state officials have declined to address the specifics of the case, saying that only that they give every student due process. Roberts became depressed, according to his. Okay, remember they're miserable, right? The sociopath is always miserable. Okay, so he became depressed, and according to his account in the court papers, and self-medicated with drugs and alcohol. This is a typical socio thing. Okay, so like I said, there's really a difference between like these certain addicts and then this thing right here. Okay, so now he's not getting his way and he's depressed and he's used to getting his way and now he's depressed. And, you know, I mean, it's like this thing, and then he wants to get these highs, so he does that. And then on April 19, 2013, he said he was found unresponsive after a suicide attempt and hospitalized, and later dismissed by a judge, sought 15 million in damages. The Chronicle spoke to one of the women named in the lawsuit as an accuser, and she said she was confused by the whole episode. She barely knew Robert, she said, and had never made an accusation against him. He filed the lawsuit and he put some lady's name in it that wasn't her part of that. Yeah, he's something else, okay? Embracing a new fame. Yeah, and sometimes they do get depressed and want to commit suicide, but as you see, it's like a self-caused thing, right? Like he's the one doing all this, and then I don't know, it just went there. Anyway, embracing a new fame. Speaking to a crowd at George Mason University in Virginia, September 7th, 2017, Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos, oh God, I was like, just stop talking about her, spoke of a young Navy veteran who nearly lost everything after being accused of sexual harassment. She's the big Madam Pimp. This young man was suspended via a campus-wide email which declared him a threat to the campus community. Can we hold her accountable for murder too? Okay, so when he tried to learn the reason for his suspension, he was barred from campus, as he should have been. He actually should have been in a treatment program, but anyway, this young man was denied due process, despondent, and without options or hope. After 5 years of sobriety, he relapsed and attempted to take his own life. Okay, so it's everybody else's fault because he's a rapist. Okay. The Trump cabinet member referenced Roberts as she announced sweeping rollbacks of Obama-era reforms, the laws prohibiting sex discriminations at school, and received federal funding. High-profile sexual assaults at universities had promoted the Obama administration to strengthen enforcement in 2011 to 14. But critics like DeVos said the rights of the accused were being trampled. Yeah, I remember this. It was a controversial push, especially after DeVos headed the Office for Civil Rights. That 90% of sexual assault allegations on campus fall into categories of we were both drunk. No, okay. Here's the thing with the drunk thing, and they were trying to argue this with me. Okay, so we can all get drunk, right? Okay, getting drunk doesn't turn you into a rapist. Getting drunk doesn't turn you into a rapist. You were already a rapist before you got drunk. So even if you both were drinking, somebody's a rapist in here, right? So, it was, they were trying to muddy the waters there, going, well, what if I was just drunk and then I turned into a rapist? Yeah, no. So there's no amount of drinking that would turn you to a rapist unless you're already a rapist. Okay, so we'll make that very clear cut and dry because I know they were really muddying that topic in that 11 to 14. Okay, so we broke up, and 6 months later, I found myself under a title investigation because she just decided that our last sleeping together was not quite right. Uh, The officials apologized, but the comments led to protests at the Education Department headquarters. For 2 months before George Mason's speech, DeVos had met with Roberts and other men accused of campus assault and harassment. And she singled out Roberts in her speech and particularly aggrieved. I don't know. So this is the current reality, she told the crowd. She did not respond Friday to the message to her press team. I would hide in a hole, you nasty thing. Roberts leaned into his newfound fame. Yeah, let's make the socio-rapist famous. Okay, so he said he began working for families advocating for campus equality, okay, equality or FACE or DC advocacy group, pushing for stronger protections for men. Oh yes, they absolutely need protections. Like, accused of assault at school. The organization did not return a request for comment. I mean, what type of woman is this? Okay, I remember this whole thing, and it was pretty bad. I mean, as far as what she was trying to do, because someone's like, you don't know who she is, and then I had to look her up, and I was like, oh my god, I'm horrified. Yeah, as Roberts gained prominence in men's rights circles, men's rights, they were born with rights. They had all the rights given to them, mostly white men, right? But so he's a black male, right? I was like, so he wants, yeah, he wants the same, MS white male supremacist rights as anybody else. His private life and finances remained in turmoil, and he had in November 2015 married Jasmine White, an army soldier stationed in Germany. Records show, but she later alleged he cheated on her during his tenure in DC and misspent money she gave him. Yeah, so everyone's an object. Roberts moved back to Germany to be with his wife, but then he caught a break. May 1st, 2018, he said Golden Gate University School of Law in downtown San Francisco offered him a presidential scholarship covering all of his tuition. God, it's great to be a man, isn't it? She moved like water. Rachel Buckner, whose close family and family members called her by her middle name, Imani, grew up attending Allen Temple Baptist Church in Oakland and singing in the children's choir. And part of that is probably going to be the reason why she stayed. I don't know what's going to happen here, but I can already see. As part of the AB Girls in Joy and Faith, she attended church trips and developed a close group of friends. On weekends, she'd play basketball and travel amateur athletic union teams when she wasn't enjoying Girl Scouts. As she finished high school, she received a full scholarship to Howard University in Washington, D.C. And no one was shocked because she was so smart and who attended church with her. Okay, after graduating, are you guys missing the message though in church with all this stuff though? Um, After graduating, Buckner returned to Bay Area and discovered a new pursuit. While she wrote poems at Howard, she kept them to herself. And now in 2018, she burst onto the stage at the Something Spirit Lounge in downtown Oakland for its weekly Speak on its sessions. She was not just confident, she was a self-assured. And when she come to the mic, you take a deep breath. Each Wednesday night, Bruckner would hold forth the femininity, divinity, and other topics. We talked about black women's pain, and she talked a lot about pleasure in a very human way. When she moved, there was a lot of poise and confidence and ease, and she moved through like water. Okay, here's a good example of something, though, when we're talking about the sociopath thing. So she has something really beautiful about her, right? She seems like a very happy person, and, she enjoys life, and this thing and that thing, right? The socio hates it. They're going to destroy it. They're going to destroy it. I'm just saying. I could tell right now what's going on here. So in fall of 2019, she began law school at Golden Gate, 4 months pregnant. A second-year classmate, Alva, recalled walking to her tort class one day when she recognized Buckner wearing a Howard University hoodie. And also an alum cupped her hands to her mouth and yelled, "H.U." Buckner swung around and yelled back the reply, and we became really close after that. And then Buckner would give birth to her daughter, Indigo, that first year. And Tree had a son while at Howard, and they bonded over challenges as black students and mothers and the difficult births they endured. Tree helped Buckner clean the front room of her mother's house for a nursery. Also in fall 2019, Roberts restarted his coursework at Golden Gate. He'd abruptly drop out the year before, but not before leaving a distinct impression with his classmates. That was the year that Christine Blasey Ford, yeah, the Ford thing, testified the Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh sexually assaulted her when they were in high school. And the hearings polarized America and fueled the Trump administration suspicious that accusations against men had gone too far. And it's a very scary time for young men in America. And it should be, right? Like, I wouldn't even disagree with that. I was like, if I'm a rapist, it should be scary for you, right? Trump said after Kavanaugh's testimony on October 2nd, 2018. And I did a good example of any guy that says something like that has gone too far. That means that they did that crime, right? Yes. So days later, wearing a Make America Great Again ball cap, Roberts was featured in a sympathetic story, that male sympathy card, yeah, on Nightline, and that said Savannah State had derailed his dream of graduating. Okay, it's everybody else's fault, not you being a rapist, right? So they love to flip that on us, right? They love to flip it on the victim, like it's everybody else's fault but yours, right? You're the victim, right? You're not the one that harmed somebody else. So it's very easy to see this to differentiate between the socio, playing I'm the victim versus the victim actually being a victim from somebody else. So the Kavanaugh hearings were hot discussion topics in Golden Gate class. Recalled Ogletree, who shared classes with Roberts in the fall of 2018. In certain classes in criminal procedures, his whole arguments were about how these weren't due process. Yeah, all his stuff was online of these same argumentations, and it's just bogus because that's the best defense that they have, right? It's just throw out some random crap. Okay, so it's like what many other students didn't see was Robert's life was falling apart. I think it always was from day one. How he got this far is just from male sympathy from other rapists. Okay, so in late October 2018, according to court records, he texted his wife, dropping out of law school, adjusting to new city, no money, no food, and divorce, right? Now, mind you, not everybody that goes through some bullshit like that is a sociopath, okay? But it's just like if you see all these other things and then you'll see these additions. Because some people just have some bad things in life. And I mean, something happens and occurs and stuff like that. So on November 1st, 2018, he was placed on an involuntary psychiatric hold known as a 5150 and considering suicide. Yeah, so the emo swing of these guys is pretty crazy, but yeah, so he's one of those that gets really suicidal, when he's screwing himself up. So he said he's been overwhelmed by stress of law school and disintegrating, I don't know, marriage and a potential eviction from his home. He was discharged with antipsychotic medication. Roberts said he spoke to a law school administrator who recommended a... Did they tell me he was a sociopath? I hope they did. I don't know. But Roberts said he spoke to a law school administrator who recommended a leave of absence that would allow him to return the next year with his scholarship intact. Oh, God, you don't want him in law school. He's nuts. So he left school November 7th, telling classmates that he was going on a sabbatical. Ogletree recalled, and a Golden Gate official declined to answer questioning about Roberts' tenure at the school. Then that month, Roberts returned to his family in Atlanta, where he was again hospitalized after becoming suicidal, according to the court filings. He said he was later diagnosed with unspecified depression, acute stress disorder, and elevated blood pressure. But not ASPD? ASPD. See, I told you they're misdiagnosing these guys. I'm dead serious. That's bullshit. The depression would be part of it. I don't know about that stress disorder. He's causing it himself. But elevated blood pressure. Okay, but you missed the ASPD. You missed the ASPD. I'm pissed off. This is another case of it. He's a Ted Bundy. Why is this? Can we fire all these, professionals? Can we? Okay, in January 2019, Roberts was back in San Francisco, scraping by on food stamps and supporting his wife that was nearly nearing an end. By that July, he was taking out payday loans to support himself by his account. In August, he returned to Golden Gate. He would first meet year student Buckner, and the pairing would start dating. He's looking to destroy something beautiful, and here we go. Around Halloween, Roberts filed for divorce from his wife. He wanted nearly $2,700 in monthly spousal support. She said she'd already paid him nearly $28,000, and that was recklessly spending money. Damn, dude. On Ubers, restaurant meals, a gym membership, switching to an expensive single student living arrangement. While the ex-wife and her attorney did not respond for requests for comment. Bringing the court filing, White said Roberts was a narcissist serial adulterer. Okay, there's one of the traits of the sociopath, right? See, they missed this because they said the depression part, right? And here's the narcissistic part, but he doesn't have narcissistic personality disorder like singly, like that thing. He is a sociopath. He has ASPD, and it's like, you guys are missing, like, he's like about to get fatal, okay? At one point, she said she went into his Instagram account and discovered he had been communicating with several different women and asked a question like, when are you going to be my wife? Okay. And so here he's treating people like objects. It should be pretty obvious he has this PD, right? But nobody gets it, right? So when confronted, White said Roberts admitted he had a problem. Okay, so see, this has been watered down so much. Like, this is just a normal thing that people do. It's not. It really is not, and it's showing how deceiving he is. He doesn't care about anybody else. People are objects. He is obviously a rapist and all sorts of things. And he does the thing where it's all self harm. Then he wants to really harm himself. And yeah, I mean, many, many flags, right? Many, many, many. Okay, so he wants to run for office. I'm going to go right to the following the suspect. Okay, on July 13th, 6 days before Buckner's remains were found, Robert's cell phone abruptly stopped communicating with Buckner's phone at after 9 months of consistent communications. According to search warrant records, but he did begin talking with at least 3 new women. One left a voicemail saying, "Hey, handsome." And detectives said Roberts kept Buckner's cell phone long after the victim was dead, drove her car, and never reported her missing. Based on the condition of the body parts and bags, investigators believe Roberts left the bag under the cover of darkness on the night of July 18th. On August 30th, officers started surveilling Roberts. An FBI team watched him drive Buckner's car, golf, smoke cigarettes, and eat Mexican food, records show. Oh, and I see now he's really happy, right? He destroyed something wonderful, right? This is what makes him high. This makes him happy. This is what he's getting off on. And it's just the craziest crap that sociopaths do. But this is what he did. And after a judge approved a search warrant, investigators on September 6th entered the Pleasanton apartment and reported immediately, spotting signs of cleanup crime scene, including a bottle of Drano and, edge of the bathtub and freshly removed carpets. And in a police interview, Roberts denied knowing Buckner was dead, saying her mental health had deteriorated in the pandemic and that it was not unusual for her to leave for days at a time. Yeah, like his was totally perfect. He didn't report her missing, and he said because he thought she would come back. I mean, this sounds like Ashton Kutcher, huh? Like when he walked, yeah, I don't know, it reminds me of that. When detectives told him Buckner was dead, Robert speculated she may have died by suicide. Oh, he's flipping his own? That's an interesting one. Okay, so basically, what he did here is that's how he feels about himself, right? Like he wanted to commit suicide. He's so miserable, all these things, and he's psychotic, right? And so he flipped himself as her problems. Her problems was his, right? And then she may have committed suicide. So a GoFundMe for Buckner's family has since raised more than $80,000. Her mother said on the fundraising page that despite her domestic troubles, she graduated. To anyone that got to know or be around Amity or whatever, she was beautiful and radiant light. And she had an infectious spirit that you could not help but smile when around and gravitate towards. See, you need to kill that. So she was at the beginning of her life and her journey, and it had so much more life to live. Yeah, sociopaths need to destroy it, okay? Because he's miserable, right? We see the whole thing, right? He's a miserable son of a bitch. He sees something beautiful that he's jealous and he wish he could have. And so then he gets it right. And obviously he's still miserable because he's a piece of shit. But then what makes him happy is destroying it. That's where his happiness comes from, if he has any at all. So, Molly Jones started the vigil by reciting some statistics. Black women make up 40% of people trafficked in the United States. In Oakland, of 15,000 missing persons, more than 400 were black women. So she recited a poem. I dare you to hold space for black girls who bloom in a drought, black girls who ask too many questions and don't learn from our mistakes. From the sweetest sunflower to the thorniest rose, I dare you embrace black girls. A little more than a week has passed since authorities identified Buckner as the woman who had been murdered just over a mile away on Alameda's South Shore Beach. Around 30 people formed a circle in the sand, spreading bubbles, playing music, and sharing stories. At the sunset, and the attendees walked to the shoreline and laid flowers in the shallow water. Okay. Around June, a month before investigators believed she was killed, Oaktree said Buckner told a close friend that her boyfriend was trying to kill her and that she had tried to get a domestic violence shelter, go to a domestic violence shelter. And when Hill's father, a deacon at the Oakland church, called her with the news of Buckner's death, she said she didn't really need him to say how it happened. Old Tree. Well, what happened here? So Old Tree said she found out about Buckner's death after from a fellow Howard alumni. Yeah, so that's pretty much the end of that. But okay, so she told somebody. Yeah, false accusations are so low. Like it's so low. We've only pulled up like I could probably count on my hand, even less than that, of anything that was fake. And then there was other ones, the other ones where guys are claiming it's fake and it's not. And then there's payoff ones where they backtrack. So there was a whole write up on, how that's happening in the system. So yeah, it's very low. And the people that do the fake ones, like that one girl that said that she got human trafficked out off the freeway. Okay, that was pretty obvious. There was something, she's got issues, right? And then there was another one where she just beat herself up and she obviously had issues. Holy crap. That was a crazy one. She took a hammer to her face or something. Yeah. So, I mean, those ones are rare, but even in Tucker Carlson was trying to pull up that one, the real Pizzagate one, where he allegedly went into a pizza parlor and like raped this girl in the back. And then, yeah, it turned into this weird ass story, and she is claiming that she has a mental disability where, something happened. You know what I mean? And so he was being all sympathetic to it. That was about the only time he was ever sympathetic to a false allegation. And then it turns to, my life could have been destroyed. I'm like, it never has. Like, did this guy's know? Like, he got like totally uplifted by every idiot under the sun. And you guys helped get somebody killed, right? How do you feel about that? You help somebody get killed. I think that people and the public should sit with that. I think this is the shittiest story I've read in a little bit. You know what I mean? No, actually, I actually read a worse one yesterday, but I'm just gonna leave it at that because I was so mad yesterday. I'm like, I'm gonna end up getting banned off everywhere because I've just this garbage right here. But if you want to read that little section in between that I jumped over because it was gonna take a long time, you guys. Yeah, she went off the map. To see what the general details are of what happened right there. But yeah, so maybe, um, hopefully everybody's learning something today about these sociopaths and their lying manipulations. I showed when they start talking like that, it means that they did it. It's going too far. Oh man, yeah, that guy you should be very careful of. So, yes. And the more you know, the better. Overeducate. Yes, please overeducate. In December 2020, Roberts posted an unusual photo on social media. He wore a tuxedo as he posed with San Francisco Mayor London Breed, right? And he said that they had dined together at the exclusive French Laundry restaurant in the Napa Valley. And Jeff Creighton, a spokesperson for Breed, said said such a dinner never happened, and that the photo was from a San Francisco sympathy symphony event. Roberts Creighton said had approached the mayor at a few different events. And then the posts on the social media, because of their nature, were flagged for her security details, which is SFPD, calling the episode disturbing, and SFPD agreed and was looking into it. So, he is a pathological liar, and this is kind of part of that trait, right? The ASPD. He's a liar, so he just no shame, right? He just threw some crap out there and said, "Oh yeah, me and them," like it's no big deal. And so they looked into that.